Okay, just recently one or two people have been asking me about the use of modes in jazz and blues playing. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is show you a kind of jazzy bluesy exercise. I was playing a bit of it there that uses a particular mode, specifically Dorian mode or Dorian mode, to create a kind of interesting and distinctive sound. Before we do that, it's worth covering just a little bit of music theory. Okay, when we talk about a mode is a very simple thing. It's just a particular type of scale. Okay, normally we're used to our major and minor scales, so the scale of C major and the scale of C minor, which, if you've had piano lessons, you might have played more often as C melodic minor with a sharpened seventh. Okay, but that's all detail. Now, those themselves are modes, particular type of scales. Okay, but there are other types of scales that we call the modes more commonly that you can use in your improvisation. And the one we're going to look at today is, as I said, Dorian mode. Yeah. Now, Dorian mode is very, very similar to a minor scale. Okay, let's look at that scale of C minor again. Okay, and here's C Dorian. As you can see, it's more or less exactly the same, apart from the A flat becomes an A natural. So that's your regular minor scale, C minor, C Dorian. Okay, so the same as the minor scale, but with the major sixth rather than the minor sixth. Okay, the easiest way to understand that is to play D Dorian, which is all white notes. There we go, D Dorian. Your regular D minor scale would have the B flat in, the minor sixth, okay, or if it's the melodic minor, the sharpened seventh as well, but D Dorian has the major sixth, which is the B natural. Okay, now modes can sound kind of interesting and exotic, and usually when you're playing jazz or blues, you don't just play one mode throughout a piece, okay, but you can kind of drop it in. If you just use the same mode relentlessly, it can sound a bit weird. So what generally happens is that you kind of intersperse major and minor keys, major and minor scales with modes, or with other types of scale like pentatonic scales or blues scales, which we've covered in the past. I should say right now, if you're really new to jazz piano, you need to check out some of my earlier videos when I talk about things like pentatonics and blues scales, and in fact, you know, I've got a short guide to getting started with jazz and blues. I will kind of splatter some of those links to the earlier videos around. So if you haven't seen those, by all means watch the rest of this video first, but go and check those out, okay? Because a lot of the concepts I'm sort of passing over here, I cover in more detail in those. Okay, so there we are with our D Dorian. How can we play around with that? Well, what I'm going to do now is teach you that little exercise I was talking about, which uses just 2 or 3 chords and sounds quite cool. It's based on, or most of it is based on a left hand pattern that goes like this. So very simple, okay, and as you can see, although we're in the key of D minor, we're starting on D, that B natural, the note that gives the the D Dorian its identity, is very heavily present there. Okay, so you can maybe start off by just copying what I'm doing there. Okay, I'm not being very fussy about fingering, I'm just jumping up, holding that bottom note down all the time with my pinky. There's also a bridge which I'll come to in a second, but for now let's just focus on this. And begin to put a right hand in. I'm doing in the right hand there is very kind of basic jazz or blues improvisation, which I've talked about in the past. So before you say, oh my god Bill, how do you do that, go and look at those earlier videos I've talked about. But I'm not overdoing the Dorian sound in there. I'm dropping a B major in occasionally, but I'm also using a D minor pentatonic scale quite a lot. Or just, let's start with D minor itself. Okay, and also a bit of D minor blues with A flat. I also don't have a problem with dropping in the B flat from the regular D minor scale every now and then. It provides a bit of interesting contrast. Okay, so regular jazz improvisation, blues improvisation, we're kind of halfway between the two here, going on in the right hand. Little bridge section I mentioned, what I do there is, when I've gone a couple of times through that, I go for B flat chord, so we're losing the Dorian identity altogether, we're going to a major sound now, to A7, okay, which I'm complicating a bit there, stop complicating it, back to D minor 7 and B flat, and then the same little loop again, or similar, B flat, A7, and back to there. Okay, let's go through that again. So we've played our little repeating pattern starting on the D and the G, and then we go and we're back to the start. What I'm going to do is play this through a few times so you can see what I'm doing. Playing and talking at the same time is really difficult, so I'm going to stop talking and just demonstrate. So I'll stick it all together and put the bridge in, and you can kind of see what I'm doing there. Okay, here we go. Whoops. Beginning to mess about there. As you can see, what I am doing is, you can probably see or hear, is I'm sticking it together with the pedal there quite a lot. Okay, just to make the whole thing flow. If you're not familiar with how the pedal works, again, I've got a video back on it in the timeline. Go and dig that out. Okay, so there we are. The key thing with using the modal sound is, as I say, I'm not overdoing it. Okay, very heavily modal jazz, which is quite common. Has been over the past 30 or 40 years really, does make more use of the modes, but generally if you're playing kind of regular jazzy or bluesy sound, then dropping in a modal sound every now and then is a good little bit of variation. As I said, that's Dorian mode. There are other modes as well, which I'll maybe make some other videos about, but Dorian's a really good one to use, especially if you are messing about with a very bluesy sound or with you know, a minor key song or something like that. There we go. I hope that was useful. If you have any questions, let me know. But if it's about any of the basic stuff, please make sure you've looked at all the other videos I've talked about first. Okay, so, you know, I'm not likely to respond to a comment that says, "Oh, Bill, can you explain how to play jazz piano?" Because, you know, the links are in there to the videos. I'm sure you wouldn't do that. If you want to know more about the basics of this kind of playing the piano, about improvisation, you know, blues and bits of jazz and pop piano and stuff like that, check out my book, How to Really Play the Piano, The Stuff Your Teacher Never Taught You, which has got loads of stuff on chords and teaches harmony through the, teaches improvisation through the means of, through the medium of 12-bar blues. Medium of 12-bar blues. Get my plurals right. That's £14.95 or £9.95 if you want the digital edition. I'll include a link to the purchase page for that. Quite a lot of people have bought it and seem to quite like it, so so there we go. Okay, I hope that was useful, and I will see you again very soon, I hope.